People tryna say I'm only in the meeting. Got a cold with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
Welcome in, everybody. This is one of the most eventful second round NBA playoff, just as a whole, that I can remember in the longest time. We had our first home team win yesterday with OKC handling Denver, but away teams are now, 5-1, if I'm remembering the number correctly, JJ? Maybe,
Yeah.
or I think 6-1, because I think this is the only game 2 left that we got today.
Yeah. For OKC, they had to bring in the playoff extender, Scott Foster, to ref that game. So they made sure they got a win.
We got another pretty known ref helping out today with Tony Brothers. But the game that we are talking about, for those who haven't picked up on it yet, is the Minnesota Timberwolves and Golden State Warriors. And at the same time, there's a lot and a little to talk about, and you guys are going to figure out why pretty quick, because the Minnesota Timberwolves got handled in game 1 pretty comfortably. They got it to 9. They cut the lead to 9 at some point, but the Warriors got control of it pretty quick again. They were ahead pretty comfortably the whole game. But the big detail is Steph Curry left with a hamstring injury in the middle of the second quarter, did not return, and is now out for game 2. So the Timberwolves down 1-0 at home, and the Warriors have no Stephen Curry. It makes you wonder how much there is to actually talk about from game 1, or if this is just a brand new landscape that we have to talk about even more. What's your take on it?
I think it's going to be a mix of both. We kind of saw what the Warriors wanted to do in the second half with Steph being out that entire half. Probably going to be a lot of usage going through Jimmy Butler. They're going to try and get Buddy Hield going. But it'll be interesting because after the game, I know Jaden McDaniels talked about he's going to be the main guy on Buddy Hield. So it's going to make it very difficult for him, as Na did not really do much defending against him. He got lost in the off-ball screens, couldn't stay in front of him at all. This Buddy Hield was just blowing by him all the time. It's not a good look for Na. I don't know how much he could play in this series if he's just constantly getting beat off the dribble and off-ball screens, which is supposed to be his bread and butter on defense.
Yeah. It is tough for him because, like last series, there's LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves. You have to have people that can switch and defend an ISO across the board. Don't really need that in this series. You need people that can navigate screens and have good cardio. And not that he's bad at it. It's just you don't need him as much because Jaden McDaniels obviously can do that. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA. Anthony Edwards can do that. Dante DiVincenzo can do that. So you don't need him as much defensively, and offensively, while he can hold his own, you'd still rather have Dante DiVincenzo and Mike Conley out there ahead of him. So his impact in this series is almost entirely going to depend on his defensive impact. And if that's not there, at least from what we saw in game 1, it is going to be interesting to see if his usage gets cut down or not.
Yeah. I think I would lean towards it being cut down. I mean, as you point everything out, I think other pieces make more sense getting minutes here.
Yeah, he was getting beat off the dribble by Pat Spencer in a post up 20 feet from the basket. That can't happen. Me and you, I love Pat Spencer. I don't know if we get beat as easily as Nickeil Alexander-Walker did on that play. So maybe we see more Pat Spencer minutes. Maybe that's the actual proper reaction to that play.
And I mean, with Steph out, we probably will see more Pat Spencer minutes, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. If we look at how the minutes were kind of split last game once Steph went down, so I'm going to look at exclusively second half because that'll give us a better idea. Buddy Hield played 22 of the 24 minutes. Jimmy Butler, 21 of the 24 minutes. As far as the rotation guys, Moses Moody only got 2 minutes. However, there has been some information that apparently he was on the starter side of shoot-around. So that would be something that only Kerr would do, play a guy for 2 minutes and then have him start the next game. Again, only Steve Kerr. But we also saw Gary Payton with 16.5 minutes, Kevon Looney with 6.5 minutes, Kuminga got in the action with 8 minutes, and Pat Spencer with 10.5 minutes. So I read all that off. I can't tell you for certain that that's how the rotation is going to be in this game. We don't know. I don't think Steve Kerr knows. But it just kind of goes to show and puts that seed into your head of be aware of what the rotation is while you watch it, because it's something to keep in mind for future games, less so trying to plan ahead in this game in specific. Anything out of that stick out to you, though, about those minutes?
Um, I think it's kind of what we expected, at least for the second half. I think probably gonna expect something pretty similar for game two. But it looks like second half, like Draymond, 4 of his 5 attempts were threes. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen the video circulating in the warm-ups today. Uh, one of the uh, one of the coaches, staff members, was wearing the Rudy Gobert jersey. He was just knocking down every single
I
three.
did
So
not see that. That's hilarious.
just off of pure hate, he might just knock down just a couple of threes tonight.
That's funny. I mean, pretty much he started hot in the game too. That's what was interesting for me to see. So he took 13 shots on the game. 10 of them were threes. Shot 4 of 10 from 3, but I think he made 4 of his first 5.
Yeah.
So the other aspect of that is, how much does the gravity of Steph open him up to wide open threes, or how much of it is him just being really confident in his shot and ripping it? We don't. It's too soon to tell.
It is too soon to tell.
But in terms of adjustments from the Warriors side and the Timberwolves side, I'll get into that in a second. They pretty much just used Buddy Hield like Steph. He would set an off-ball screen just to turn around and get a screen himself, and suddenly he's open at the top of the key. Or a lot of the relocation stuff, you got to think he picked it up from Steph. However, it's a lot easier to pick up the Steph roll when the other team isn't ready for you to pick up the Steph roll. Now that the Timberwolves have seen it, they're going to defend him like Steph, at least to an extent. And not everybody's built for that. So we're going to see how that goes. But I'd have to imagine there's a pretty big game plan around not letting Buddy Hield get to those threes, which means all that usage Jimmy Butler gets does that mean that he just scores more, or does that mean that other guys like Pods and Gary Payton and those guys are getting more shots instead? Another thing to keep in mind while we watch. Personally, I do think we see a bigger Pods role in this game than we saw in last game. I think a lot of the attention that Buddy's going to get and is going to have to make it go somewhere else. And Jimmy Butler's too important for them to just say, yeah, we'll just defend him one-on-one and live with it. So somebody else is going to have to do something. Pods is probably my favorite option.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pause. I mean, just his role in general, from rebounding, shooting, passing, like all of it's got to step up and elevate to help these guys win tonight.
Agreed. And from the Timberwolves side, oh my God, 5 of 29 from 3, and 3 of them came like fairly late. Like this was arguably the worst game of offensive basketball we saw from the Timberwolves all season. I mean, thank God it came in game 1, not like a game 6 or 7, but you don't want to be having these games in the playoffs. And obviously it was bad shooting, but it wasn't just bad shooting. Like, the offense did not look good. It looked very complacent, and you can't do that against the Golden State Warriors team. They don't pride themselves in like rim protection or ball It's like they swarm the ball and they try and make you as uncomfortable as possible. So being complacent against a defense like that, it's only going to lead to disaster, and that's exactly what it led to. But shout out Naz Reid. He was the only bright spot in that offense. I know we talked about him a little bit going into game 1, at least on the live stream. I can't remember if we were able to get a video out for that game. But 3 of 7 from 3, 8 of 14 from the field, and he looked like exactly what a 6-man's supposed to. He gave them a spark, and he's probably going to be filling in the same role tonight.
Yeah, I think he played about 33 minutes, almost 34. I think he's probably going to get 28 to probably 33 minutes again, somewhere in that range. He's been very useful in the paint. I think him and Rudy Gobert can be very important, just trying to rebound, crash the glass, and then score, because obviously attacking that zone defense, you need to score in the paint, or at least just get downhill in general off the dribble. So, I mean, that's where Anthony Edwards picked up in the second half. He finally stopped settling for jumpers. And, he just got to the rim, and he shot, I think, 9 of 14 in the second half, or 8 of 14.
I don't
Something like
remember
that.
what his percentages were, but I can tell you 11 of his 14 second half shots were in the paint. In the first half, it was only 4 of his 8 shots were in the paint.
Yeah.
So there was a very clear difference in intent and how they used him. But it was also like Finch called him out for not having enough energy in the first half. or at least in the game, and then you could kind of see a difference first, second half. In the second half, he was going to the ball. If Julius Randle had it, they were doing a two-man game. There was a handoff. If it wasn't open, he'd flip it back to Randle, come back and get it in another handoff. It was less of, hey, Ant, you get the ball 40 feet from the basket. Let's see what you can do. So some of it was scheme. Some of it was Anthony Edwards settling. And there was a clear game plan to get him some more high-quality shots in the second half, and he was being a lot more aggressive. And I think we see that a little bit more in game 2 as well.
Yeah, because I think what Golden State clearly got outscored in the paint and a little bit outscored in second chance points. I think they got to continue attacking that area, just rebounding and scoring in the paint, not open up the three ball. Still, hopefully, eventually knock down. The last 2 games that they played been very poor from three.
What was it, 12 to 70? Is that the number?
Yeah.
12 to 76, something like that. Something ridiculous. And honestly, as long as they rebound from it in this game, they're fine. They can live. If you're going to have a bad shooting night, it's better to have it in one game of a playoff series than stretch it out into 3 or 4 kind of bad games.
Yeah, it's just a problem when it carries over from a previous series.
Yep. But Dante DiVincenzo 1 of 7 from 3. Jaden McDaniels 0 for 3. Julius Randle 0 for 3. Like everybody was disaster. Conley 0 for 2. It was a disaster. Naz Reid literally had 3 of the team's 5 3-pointers made. Yep. So some's in the air. Hopefully they got rid of it and they can make some shots in this one.
DiVincenzo had good looks. He just couldn't knock him down like he has the rest of the playoffs. I mean, 7 of 38 from 3 in the playoffs is just not going to cut it when you were brought in to knock down threes.
I feel like we're getting a little bit of like a Gary Trent experience with DiVincenzo where he keeps chucking because that's what he's there to do. And then, once he makes 2 or 3 in a row, he's probably going for 30.
Maybe.
He's just going to blow up. I'm telling you. We know he's a good shooter.
He can do it.
It hasn't been there in the playoffs so far, but it's coming.
At all.
Let's see what else they're talking about. One other thing is, so Dane Moore, he's a reporter for the Timberwolves, and this isn't something that he heard like from Chris Fincher from the team. This is something that he pointed out while watching the film. There's a lot of actions the Warriors are using between Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield where it's almost better to switch them instead of defending it how they're defending it, because especially when Buddy Hield's as hot as he is, switching it is the better option. And that only becomes an issue when Gobert's on the floor. So it depends on who's screening and who's on the floor for Golden State. But if they're running 5 out, it's less of an issue for Gobert being on the floor because he's not stepping out to a Draymond or Quentin Post. It's more because of how quick and the timing of all these off-ball actions from the Warriors. You either have to switch it, and then Rudy Gobert gets is being asked to step up to a Buddy Hield quick release 3, or you have to do a better job of stopping the screening, staying in front of him. And if they do that, then Rudy Gobert can stay on the floor. But if they can't get that figured out, then that's where we see Naz Reid with 34 minutes like we did last game. So something to keep in mind, because it's an issue that presents with small ball that most people don't think of when they think of Rudy Gobert. When they think of Rudy Gobert, they just think, floor spacing. He has to step out to the 3 with a big man shooting. They've kind of figured that out, but this whole off-ball screening and quick timing and passing and switching, that's where I think we get into a little bit more of a unique problem with the Warriors that might persist here. So just another thing to keep in mind. I like Rudy Gobert today without Stephen Curry. I like his rebounding upside, but I need to make sure that he's going to be on the floor, and I don't know. I think his rebounds line is like 11.5. I think he probably needs like 30 minutes to get there, but like a 10 rebound or 11 rebound, I think 25 minutes or so should be more than enough. He got 26 last game. I think 25 minutes is his floor. And 25 rebound chances in those 25 minutes, by the way. I think that's everything, unless you got anything else.
Nope, that's about it.
All right, let's get into the parlay of the day. First off, Timberwolves minus 10.5. Every system under the sun supports this. When there's a home favorite coming off of a loss in a playoff game, the record's ridiculous. And that's just like the system that I remember off the top of my head. There's like 4 or 5 more. It's less about Curry. It's less about the Warriors and who's the better team. 10.5 is obviously a pretty big spread. And round 2 of a playoff game. But when there's as many systems that support it as this does, and in the playoffs in a 7-game series, systems are a little bit stronger than on a random Tuesday in February, we're going to trust it. And next up, Rudy Gobert, 10 rebounds. Again, 25 minutes, 25 rebound chances last game. With no Steph Curry, he's going to be forced into actions a little bit less. And especially if they figure out that those off-ball actions between Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler, we might even see 30 minutes from him. So huge upside there and just crazy efficiency from him last game. We're going to go back to it with the size advantage that he has. And lastly, Naz Reid over 12.5 points. They need somebody to stretch the floors to beat that zone that they're running against Anthony Edwards. And Naz Reid showed that he's the perfect guy to do that. 14 shots last game. Hit a couple of them from deep in a game where there was nothing else going for the Timberwolves. So if they get a little bit more action today, get the ball zipping around, those high-quality looks are only going to get higher quality. All that together, plus 413 with the boost on FanDuel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys on the next show. Appreciate you guys as always. We got more games coming tomorrow.